don't want to throw it and have to, break it, risk it to break. But as you can tell, I just went and saw the final movie of the new trilogy of Star Wars, and of course, what they call it, the end of the Skywalker saga. I'm not exactly, mad, and I mean, it's been 2 weeks in a row that I've seen really, really shitty movies. I saw the Playmobil, I saw Black Christmas. Both movies suck. So, did I get a third strike in 3 weeks in a row? I wouldn't say exactly like that, because here is something how I could describe my impressions of the film. I went there, with a clear mind, even though in my mind it was clearly thinking about what will the fans of Star Wars will think about this movie, because ever since The Last Jedi, the fans got really, really divided. And I understand why. Because it took me a while, to kind of realize how The Last Jedi kind of become divisive. I didn't personally, hated it as much as fans, grew to hate. But I also didn't come off loving it, as some uber people who, are apologetic to watch anything that is on screen do something. But I can tell at least from experiences to say when is the movie come as being really, really bad or really, really good, or bad is good or good is bad, and how it can be apologetic. Okay, I can say that this one kind of tries, I'll say. But my experience on this movie is that, first of all, it's probably the weakest experience of Star Wars I ever had. Second time, because every single time that I went to a Star Wars film, it really felt like an event. I've seen people, dress up, like the character, like Darth Vader, or wearing t-shirts. I mean, look at me, I'm wearing my Millennium Falcon Star Wars shirt. It always felt like an event. Even The Last Jedi, or it was like that. Even The Force Awakens like that. But then, because of this gut freaking divide, my movie experience on Solo was mediocre. And this one, I decided to go to probably the most expensive movie theaters in New York, because I thought there was gonna be fans, legions of fans, finally waiting for the conclusion of this epic Star Wars. Because even in the good and the bad, Star Wars is a phenomenon. Were there people like that? No. It felt less enthusiastic than I could ever imagine. What happened? I mean, when the prequel movies was during my childhood, it was big, and I wasn't even in the United States at that time. I was in my hometown in Ecuador. Oh man, that's kind of like my preconception on this movie. And now that I finally seen this movie, put a nice cap out of it, here's my thought. I felt entertained by the movie because, yeah, it's Star Wars and all this stuff, and things about J.J. Abrams and all this stuff. But the thing is that things happen so much that I disagree, especially in the last frame of the movie. I have big issues with the last moment of the movie, in which I came out with the kind of feeling empty, hollow, mixed, and I was thinking, was that really a good movie? Was that a forgivable movie? I just had to. I went to eat at TGI Fridays, to have some dinner while still pondering about this movie. And I was like, okay, this doesn't make sense. This looks okay. No, this doesn't work. I was beginning to ponder a lot. And I came back, and even to this day, even not right now, I'm still pondering if I could say that this is probably the most entertaining mediocrity I have ever seen this year. That's kind of the best I could say. That was kind of like the most entertaining mediocrity I could say. But as a movie, the best way I can describe Rise of the Skywalker is that this movie is slightly better than The Last Jedi, but it's only slightly better because you can notice that this one is just J.J. Abrams trying to put the stitches and trying to cure all the damage that Rian Johnson put out on The Last Jedi. All the mistakes that the last movie made, they tried to fix it on this movie. So it kind of comes up as a movie that tries to play a little bit too safe because, yeah, they don't want it to. They felt like they were trying to damage control everything since right now almost every single fans of Star Wars are looking at the movie producers with pitchforks and torches, and they're afraid that we don't want to make the same mistake as The Last Jedi. So how do we fix this, but at the same time trying to not screw it up? And in the conclusion, it kind of gave out half-ass mediocrity, in which for me, it is kind of hard to talk about the movie without spoiling anything, but I have to say it. So this is gonna be kind of like a big spoiler movie review because I had to let it talk about it. So here goes. All right. So anyway, the movie takes place, sometime after The Last Jedi. Kylo Ren is on control, and apparently he, according to even the text opening, it says that he has been hearing phantom voices of the returning villain, Emperor Palpatine. Yep, you heard me right. He returns, but of course, the trailer said that he's gonna return, and you still might be wondering, how the hell did Emperor Palpatine survive? This million foot high fall ever since he was dropped by Darth Vader. I don't know. I don't know. The power of Disney, who also Disney kind of made. No, I don't think it was Disney. But probably it was the same. He actually got the same magic power that made Darth Maul somehow survive being sliced in half and falling through, down. I haven't seen Clone Wars, the 3D animated film. I only saw the Clone Wars, the Genndy Tartakovsky film. So, if anyone knows much about the lore of Star Wars, please correct me and tell me, how did Darth Maul survive being sliced in half? Because this probably will tell me how the hell Emperor Palpatine survived. Well, kind of survived, I'll say, because okay, the thing is that the movie starts out with Kylo Ren after killing a lot of people. He finds apparently a triangular artifact that is basically known as the Sith Wayfinder, which is kind of like it gives out the coordinate of the Sith's planet. And honestly, it kind of reminds me of the eternal poses of One Piece. But yeah, it is revealed that yeah, Palpatine is alive on life support, and it basically tells you that the last villain who got killed on the Last Jedi, Snoke, he actually kind of was a clone of Emperor Palpatine. Yep, that's okay. That's technically what I can deduce. I'll say. I could deduce that he was just honestly the clone of Emperor Palpatine. Okay, I can buy clonings because they did establish on the prequels, I'll say. But here's a kind of like a complaint. You can tell that all these things were supposed to be for Snoke until they killed it off last time. That movie didn't even need Emperor Palpatine. That's kind of like a fixer-upper complaint that I have to say. But yeah, that's kind of like the setup in which, yeah, Palpatine reveals that he wants to kill Rey, but Kylo Ren doesn't want to kill her. He wants to take her, make her join the dark side. And then, of course, we got the Resistance, who is weak since the Last Jedi because nobody helps them. We got our heroes, Poe, Finn, BB-8, and Chewbacca, and of course Rey, just doing their things, and they discover that according to the source of apparently a First Order traitor, that Emperor Palpatine is getting ready to form a final order, which involves a big fleet that is gonna destroy the universe. So the only way to stop him is that they must find out, according to the sources, they must find out a second Sith Wayfinder in order to bring out to find the coordinates to find Emperor Palpatine's hideout and destroy him once and for all. That's technically the best summary I can tell you about the whole thing. The journey, I will say that it's really paced like a snail. It goes into a little bit like the video game plot in which you get a clue where to go, you go there, you get an artifact, like for example that dagger. For example, they get kind of like a dagger that tells. That has a scripture that tells where you should go to get the Sith Wayfinder, and of course, but it is on Sith language in which only C-3PO could translate, which unfortunately he is programmed to not reveal any Sith language, so they have to go some kind of black market translator, and so on, so on, so on. As you can tell, I did kind of warn you that this movie is going to be too spoilery, so I really, really warn you at this point that the spoiler thing is going to get too heavy at this point. So right now, I suggest you that I already gave you my initial opinion, and I'm going to tell you to stop right now if you're curious enough to watch the movie, because I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to stop you if you're going to end up hating this movie or loving this movie or having kind of like a mixed bag. But for me, it's kind of like a mixed bag. But just like the nerd says,
But let me tell you what kind of mixed bag. It's a trash bag that's had a bad day. Like say your mom cleans out the cat litter, fresh and stale duty pebbles go right in the bottom of the bag, and then your sister throws out her used tampons, and where do they go? In the same bag. And then your brother comes home piss-ass drunk, just upchucks, pukes right into the bag. Now, I'm not trying to be disgusting, But that is a realistic situation, and what it all comes down to, that's a nasty bag.
Well, that's how he sums up a mixed bag. Alright, so let me talk up to you about the actors, in which I will say that the actors, they do fine, but unfortunately, I can't get too invested with the characters, especially when all these characters, they just technically they just bigger, they feel kind of less emotions than the other ones. Maybe it's me, and it does feel again that this is the kind of movie that it feels like it wants to try too hard to, you know, upstage the charm of the beloved characters from the franchise, and but kind of, I don't know, I just didn't feel it, unfortunately, because how bland some of the characters are. I will say probably that of the whole trilogy, I actually really probably the best character I could say are actually Poe Dameron, because he's really cool. And I wish that the movie will focus a little bit more on Finn, because he actually felt like he has kind of like the most interesting backstory, but it is clearly that the movie really wanted to focus on Rey. And unfortunately, I see many fans trying to, you know, clash, even with the creator, saying that she is a Mary Sue. Well, I can see that this movie tries a little bit too hard to remedy that by giving her a little bit more of an interesting backstory. But unfortunately now I will say that she is indeed a Mary Sue, I will say. I'm sorry to say this, but I'm kind of glad that they tried to fix that here, but it wasn't enough, I will say. It was a little bit kind of like too late, in my opinion. Although there is a twist on her, in which I'm not going to tell you right now. Not right now, I'll tell you. I'll save that later, because that part is one thing that I felt happy about it, but they ruined it. And I'll save that for later. Kylo Ren, I will say that he's not as badass as Darth Vader, and it clearly showed that they were trying to, you know, to make him, you know, kind of like a shadow or something like that. But unfortunately, he just kind of came out, you know, like the whiny millennial that many people could say, you know, always angry, not very happy on what is going on. Always, I talk like this because I'm kind of like emo. For some reason, I kind of feel like this is a character that came from the Twilight universe. I think he's a vampire, and he's just like that. But that's just me, and pretty ironic that I never seen any of the Twilight movies, and I know the kind of like the mannerism that they do. Actually, I did try to watch the first movie. I hated it because I fell asleep and I couldn't even watch. It was unwatchable, at least for me. Okay, we also have, you know, the archive footage of Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia. I don't know if these footages are technically, you know, really advanced, or they were actually planned to do it, you know, they just wanted to put it on The Last Jedi. That kind of got me confused. Although it feels kind of forced, but I can tell that they tried their best on you know, putting Princess Leia / Carrie Fisher into the movie, knowing that she passed away 2 years ago, and they did do fine with it. That is until we have kind of like a final moments on her, which you can tell that they were like, oh, we ran out of footage, so let's get the stunt double and let's not show her face. So I don't know if that was kind of clever, because honestly, they had to work with what they got. So I can't be, you know, mad, because what they did is much better than having her, you know, fly like Superman in space. That's how I can say. Yeah, there's General Hux. I really like the guy from the last movie. I don't know why people kind of complain about this guy. He was menacing enough. In this one, they kind of tried to redeem the guy, but unfortunately at the end, he becomes they did something that I'm not gonna exactly reveal, but I was like, movie, are you really sure that you kind of earn it? And of course they wanted to bring out, and speaking of actors, here's the biggest thing that I really don't like about this movie. Oh, but before that, yeah. Lando appears in this movie. He's cool as always. I probably will say that he was the best actor in this one. C-3PO and R2-D2 and BB-8, yeah, they're there. There's also this little droid that comes off kind of like a... It kind of comes out first as kind of like a, you know, a new mascot, but it is integral to the movie. Okay, what was I saying before? Oh yeah, one of the biggest piece that I have with this movie is that the movie tries to show new characters in this saga, and they just try to emphasize that these guys are important, but it felt like rush. They just got there just for the sake of, you know, hey, here's a new character. Okay, what? Where were you? Yeah, I'm just there. Like for example, there's this girl who is technically unfriendly/friendly with Poe because of the past or something like that. Then later kind of appear these people who there were reformed stormtroopers. That's the least I could say. And they kind of wanted to play out like they're important, but everything is so rushed that I feel like I don't feel for those characters enough. Oh, and finally, do you remember probably the worst character in The Last Jedi, which I'm talking about, Rose? She's there, but she's brushed up like nothing. Like they want to acknowledge that yeah, you exist. So we're gonna put you in a couple of scenes. You're gonna have a couple lines, but are you gonna participate? No, because apparently your presence is gonna trigger people. People are calling this movie bold. That's kinda contradictory. Time for me to talk to you about the cinematography, people, because I'm sick of hearing people saying that J.J. Abrams makes scenery and cinematography is beautiful and gorgeous, and it looks great and all this stuff. I'm sorry to say this, people, but I disagree because looking back, even The Force Awakens, or, well, not exactly The Force Awakens, maybe in this one, I will say that J.J. Abrams, he knows how to film a camera. That I will give it credit for. But saying that this movie is beautiful, I will disagree because the scenery and the cinematography of this movie is the most murkiest, grim, and grayish, dark, and most dead color movie I have seen this year, and so much that I didn't feel that it's Star Wars. Because I want to feel, when I see something and I want to, feel some kind of action. You want to make kind of like an action movie that makes me feel, bright. You need a little bit more of bright colors. But this movie, all the scenery, it looks grayish. It feels like that everywhere. It's gonna rain. These kind of movies. Have you seen in cartoons or movies in which you are there and you feel, or no, bad example. Here's the thing. Have you ever gone outside and you feel like you're gonna have, kind of like a great day. You're gonna have fun, but once you step inside, you see the clouds and the world you see is gray, really dark, mostly because it feels like it's gonna rain. You're then gonna feel, like, I just wanna go home and have a good sleep. That's how everything in this movie feels like. I'm not exactly complaining, on scenes that it's supposed to be dark. It's supposed to be dark because let's say that it's inside a cave or inside ruins or anything like that, or during the climax. But it is technically, everywhere. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel because even in the in the prequels and the original series, I didn't feel murkiness on the cinematography. I mean, it looks nice, but please brighten up. It's almost like Murky from Rainbow Bright just came in and sucked all the colors of it. I didn't even feel like the lightsabers gave me enough impact. And speaking of lightsabers, this movie has probably the most boring lightsaber battles there is, and because there was nothing too spectacular that makes me feel like there's kind of like a sense of real danger, especially considering how Rey is too overpowered. I'll get to that, by the way. But damn, at least many people complain the prequels. And they always complain that there's a lot of choreography in the prequels. I don't agree that they don't look too natural. It looks kind of like too much to show off what you can do. But you know what? At least for the benefit of the doubt, I'll say that at least they were entertaining. They were entertaining. And entertaining. So I can't believe I am saying this. Makes me feel very bad, to complain this long about this movie. Oh my god, how much time it is? I think that this is another one of those those reviews in 3 weeks in a row that is gonna be long. I never intended to be, like that, but I have to talk about it. So again, that's the cinematography that they have. And what else? So what else I can say about this movie? Let's say, you know what? Fine. I'll talk to you one of the biggest complaints that I have about this movie. It is clear that the movie basically it confuses the Force with magic. Although, to be fair, that apparently the prequels also confused the Force with science. So yeah, we know that the Force is technically kind of like a magical force, to put it in, for lack of better words. But even the good storytellings that involve magic, it does have some specific rules out of it. It is clearly shown that Rey probably had technically the power of the goddess, I'll say. Even from the first movie, it is shown that she does have a talent on, learning the Force, even though she's kind of new to it. She learned Force manipulation. She knows how to make the, Force drag and all this stuff. And to show off how to overpower Rey is, and like many people complain, the first shot of her when she appears in the movie is her meditating, floating, and having rocks revolving around her like she's the Avatar. You know, at least Aang, he had to go through trials in order to even commit, to airband, waterband, earthband, and even fireband. He had to go through teachers. But yeah, it shows up, her training with Leia or something like that, which kind of makes me laugh, saying that you didn't need that training because you're already good at it. I mean, and one of the big things that this movie had ever since The Last Jedi is that apparently she can force talk with Kylo Ren. And this movie presents probably the biggest force bullshit power I have ever seen in my life. You know what this movie has? Force stealing objects. Force stealing. Or, how did he do it? Let me explain. Apparently there is, I would say that I actually will love to call it Force hat trick. That's the best way I can describe it. Call it Force hat trick. Because the first time it's presented is that they go to this planet, which looks like Tatooine. They go to a festival, and Rey is given kind of like a beads from one of the people. She has a color bead on her, and then she communicated with Kylo Ren, who he says, Palpatine wants you dead, but I don't want you dead. I want to join you to the dark side. It doesn't want to make it clear why and all this stuff. But going back to the Force, you know what happens? Well, imagine Rey is on a planet, and Kylo Ren is on space on a fleet or something like that. And then what Kylo does is that he kind of makes a grabbing gesture, and out of nowhere, he takes Rey's beads and pulls up to him. So it teleports back to him. And I was like, what? So apparently the Force makes you do kind of like the equivalent to pulling a rabbit from a hat. And this is kind of like the most convenient power you could ever have elsewhere, and so you don't need to go anywhere. So what was that? And they do this, I think that two more times, because there's even a lightsaber battle which involves that with Rey and Kylo Ren in two different places. They have a lightsaber battle in two different places. What is that?
You see that? Get down! I told you, he's a psycho! He's lost it! The time fracture must have made him crazy! I don't know what to do!
Oh, and also, Rey has the power of force healing. Force healing is a thing. I played the Star Wars video game, and there is force healing. So that's pretty much my complaint about the uses of the Force in this movie. Alright, it's time for me to wrap this up. This is going a little bit too long, and it's almost 1 a.m. here. But it is time for me to finally talk the uber spoilers, so alright. There we go. Uber spoilers. So here is the grand reveal of all this madness, and the one that I could give a little bit of credit until the thing that made my movie. Here's the grand reveal. The biggest reveal is technically that the whole mystery surrounding Rey. which I will say that it was technically the only thing that I wish they could handle it very well, and I could say that this is technically the most interesting part of Rey, because because during the whole movie you kind of see that she's kind of struggling, to go to the dark side as Kylo Ren wants. Even though it's not as technically established why he wants her, ever since The Last Jedi and all this stuff. Maybe they had kind of like, teenage boners out of it. And yeah, we didn't know from Force Awakens. The Last Jedi, it kind of dissipated people by saying that her parents were nothing. They were worthless. And this movie, they did came out with the idea. I gotta admit, actually that got me, and I thought that was a great idea. Even the guy who, when it was reviewed, there was only one guy who was more enthusiastic about this movie more than anyone in the movie theater. One guy who like, oh shit! Here's the thing. All this about parents being nothing was actually a lie, and the biggest reason why Emperor Palpatine wanted to kill Rey, here it is because Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter. It's not true. That's impossible. So they really hold out this mystery. And once they say that, I really wanted to... This could have saved the trilogy better by having, knowing that Rey was actually shouldering, the last name of the Emperor who was going to conquer the galaxy. There! Why wasn't that before? That will lessen the damage of the Mary Sueness out of it. But I don't know if this was kind of like a last minute or something like that. Probably because of Snoke or anything. I just want to know. But that was technically kind of like an idea. Although now that I think about it, it kind of wanted to mirror, that old generations want to destroy the new generations because they have something about the dark side. I mean, Last Jedi, they technically destroy Luke Skywalker by having him trying to kill off Kylo Ren because they feel that he has the dark side. And yeah, he's the son of Han Solo and all this stuff. And now it mirrors, of course, Rey, because Rey's parents, they basically hide that they're nothing. They were kind of like people with the Sith. They were, which makes me want to question a lot about the backstory of Emperor Palpatine. If he had kind of like family members or something like that, in which they dissect him, but they just went there, they died, they were killed, and they sent, protect Rey or something like that. It's technically, it sometimes brings a little bit more questions than answers. But yeah, Rey feels confused. She feels like she's being dragged, by the dark side. She even, and one of the complaints that I also have about this movie is that during the whole movie, all this time, Rey is going alone, during all, her missions. She technically feels like she doesn't need, Finn and Poe, which kind of tells that we wanted to know, that she's strong, a woman and all this stuff, but sometimes even our heroes need the help of others. But Rey apparently just goes on her own almost all the time, which I can see why people doesn't buy the friendship of our trio of Rey, Finn, and Poe. Because almost most of the time Rey goes alone. She goes alone everywhere. She doesn't fight with either Finn or Poe. Poe and Finn has more chemistry than Rey and anybody. I don't even buy, the chemistry between her and Luke and the chemistry with her and Leia Morgana, because if there could be, kind of like a chemistry, I wish they could have established, in the other movies. Although I do agree with J.J. Abrams in saying that Rey shouldn't have hugged Leia in the Force Awakens, to console her by the death of Han Solo, because she kind of see him like a father figure or something like that. Oh man. So yeah, that's the big reveal. All this, at least they tried to make that Rey kind of screwed it up, and it destroys the coordinates and all this stuff. And she technically feels pity on Kylo Ren, and when she stabs him, and at the same time, Leia dies. And she feels pity on him, and Kylo Ren is like kind of confused. I don't exactly know why, and then Rey just goes, and everyone is kind of like, what are we gonna do? We can't find the Sith planet in order to stop the final order, in which Palpatine calls it. And then of course Kylo Ren, he sees the ghost of Han Solo. Yeah, they got Harrison Ford, for a paycheck. And he throws his lightsaber, and because they say that I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. So I was confused. Dude, I understand. You were going to get killed by your uncle, Mark Hamill. You were about to be, yeah. So it's kind of understandable why you were angry about it. So it's not technically an easy solution that you did it just for, because you got the hot on Rey or something like that. And as for Rey, she goes back, to the planet where Luke was. She sees the remains of Luke's house, which was destroyed by Yoda's lightning, which apparently is still burning after many years. And she decides to throw the lightsaber, Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, only to be grabbed by the Force ghost of Luke. And she's like, what the? And Luke kind of says, a Jedi must treat his weapons with care, or something like that. And my mind is like, says the guy who threw his lightsaber like rubbish. And yeah, he said that they were wrong and all this stuff. And then, because they wanted to kind of cause a Deus Ex Machina thing, he kind of revealed that there's a secret passage where it has Leia's lightsaber, because they needed to insert that Leia had a lightsaber. And there's also, remember that they mentioned that there's only two Sith Wayfinders? Well, if there are two, what happened? There was a third, apparently. A third. The one thing, they got me confused. The first Wayfinder Kylo Ren has, we don't know what happened to it. Later, when they find it by the ruins of the Death Star, Kylo Ren destroys it, and then she goes. Rey goes away, and then she finds apparently a third Wayfinder, which is on the burning remains of Luke's house, and the Force ghost of Luke say that you must go there. I use the Force in order to bring back the X-wing that is underwater. And yeah, then she got the coordinates and all that. She goes there, and everyone follows because the coordinates of Luke. Oh yeah, I did kind of forget to mention that there is kind of like a running joke that C-3PO loses his memory when translating, the Sith thing. That was something that they wanted to try as humor. And I forgot to tell you that the humor is really lame. Sorry for the slight camera view. My camera just ran out of batteries, and I had to make some changes out of it. So anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, Rey goes to, you know, the Sith base where she finds Emperor Palpatine in life support, and he is also surrounded by, I think, other Siths who they're also cloaked. I couldn't even tell if they're actually, you know, clones of Emperor Palpatine or something like that. But basically, he tells her that he, I don't know, maybe he had a change of idea, saying that he did wanted Kylo Ren to bring Rey into him, so so Emperor Palpatine, she can kill Emperor Palpatine, so he can turn into a ghost, so he can possess Rey, and she becomes the Queen of the Sith. Convoluted much? While she struggles, then we got Kylo Ren appearing, and he tries his best. We also have Captain Poe and Finn rallying, you know, what's left over the Resistance, trying to you know, battle, you know, the last order, who every ship now have a planet destroyer. So yeah, we got kind of like this battle in which, unfortunately, the battles, you know, the space battles is technically more intense than the ones that is happening with Palpatine and Kylo Ren. At this point, I was thinking that how much Return of the Jedi it is. I'm sick of hearing people saying that Return of the Jedi was bad. I know, the Ewoks was a little bit too much. I didn't have a problem with the Ewoks. Oh yeah, Ewoks appear. The Ewoks appear, you know, a little bit as a cameo. There's even cameos of porgs there. But still... so what else I can say? I felt that no matter how excited that felt, it kind of felt hollow for some reason. Maybe because nothing much is happening, especially on the Rey and Kylo Ren side, that didn't feel as epic as it is. The epic part were actually kind of like in the battle up there, which, man, that it also felt too much by lots of convenience deus ex machinas. Like, for example, do you remember that Force hat in the tracks thing? Here's kind of like a bullshit thing that happened. Remember, like I said, Rey technically has in her hands both the lightsaber of Luke Skywalker and Leia Skywalker. And she uses one, and when she's confronted by Palpatine, she's gonna, you know, okay, I'll use this one. She kind of wanted to swing at Palpatine, but no, she's kind of like, nope, I have nothing. And then out of nowhere, it appears on Kylo Ren then pulls it out, like he understood her, and now, yeah, I now have the sword. Yep, the same bullshit, you know, rabbit in the hat trick. So basically, yeah, they tried that, and man, that this movie is kind of full of contradictions, I'll say. But basically, to put it short, when everything was lost, then apparently they managed to rally not only the what's remaining of the Resistance, but they rally, you know, the whole galaxy, in which they even say, hey, is the Navy? No, they're commoners, they're common people. And apparently the common people technically have, you know, managed to get, you know, Grand Fleet, you know, to battle. Technically I like the message when the common people, you know, rally, you know, for you know, the common goal and goes against a bigger threat. Kind of like in Bugs Life or the Lego movie. But this movie kind of felt a little bit unearned, and somehow it got me that hollow feeling. And yeah, also to make kind of like matters short, the final battle, which confrontation with Rey and Palpatine, it can tell you, you know, the two extremes of the whole thing, in which Palpatine just says, I am every Sith, I represent all the Sith. And then Rey said, then I am all the Jedi. Bam! And she kills off not only Palpatine, but all the Sith surrounding the whole area. So, yeah, we got both extremes. But everything technically took a toll on Rey, so much that she lays down flat and dead. But with her cold eyes and like this. And then Kylo Ren appears. And then he force heals her to bring her back to the dead. Then share a kiss. And then Kylo Ren dies. And his body disappears. Like he earned his Jedi. Here's the contradictions that falls. That I can find two. Number one, the kiss. Isn't the teachings of the Jedi said that love is taboo? Yeah, I find it contradictory also in the prequels, but they kind of establish a little bit of that, even though I wish they could establish it a little bit better. But this came out, you know, yeah, I kind of suggested that because I was like, okay, kiss. I know that you wanted to do that since The Last Jedi. Oh, there it is. But the second contradiction that I find is that wasn't resurrecting people from the dead a no-no from the Jedi teachings? Because basically that's what brought Anakin Skywalker to the dark side when he was trying to find ways to save Padme from death. And the Jedi Council didn't want to do that because technically looking at the powers of immortality and cheating death is part of the Sith way. Although let's consider that, yeah, Kylo Ren is part of the dark side or something like that, so he had no problems doing that. But apparently he was technically a good guy at that point, so... you know, these things can be debated and I can find forgivable. Until we finally get the ending, and the final moment is the moment that destroyed me. I can't believe that the last line of the movie is the one that technically made me lose respect to this movie, but also this new trilogy. Here it is. The biggest theme of Rey during this whole movie, and they even trying to hammer it in your head, is that they were trying to tell her that she must not fear what she is. Do not fear who you are. Because Rey was having, you know, fears of knowing what she is. And I could tell that this is kind of like probably the refining moments that I could say about Rey. And an interesting part of a character like that. We finally get a little bit of answer why she's uber powerful, in which it kind of shows that she technically has the bloodline of a Sith, in this case, Emperor Palpatine. I don't know if this kind of like a... So the movie is technically kind of trying to bring out a message that bloodline doesn't matter, it's the person, and it's a great message. I like this thing, that it's not about the bloodlines, but it's about the message. A little bit contradicting The Last Jedi, but I don't want to discuss into that. And yeah, you should be proud of who you are, and no matter what, you know, the things. And it doesn't matter if you're a Palpatine, as long as you are yourself. But then, you know, after, having people celebrating, celebrating the war, she hugs, Finn and Poe. And here's the thing that contradicts everything. Even the moral of this. In the final shot of the movie, Rey goes back to Tatooine. And she sees Luke's farm. She goes with there with BB-8. she sees all this because, yeah, this is how you're gonna close off the, you know, the saga of the Skywalkers. She buries Luke and Leia's lightsabers under it, you know, with her force. And then she finds out kind of like a random passenger there. And so he's like, hey, I haven't seen you. Who are you? My name is Rey. She never said her last name. She says, Rey. And the woman is like, Rey, who? And then Rey looks at the sky. She sees kind of like the projections of Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, you know, Luke and Leia. And then she just says the line that punches me in the face. She says, Rey Skywalker. So much for a movie that's gonna teach you to not be afraid of who you are. You didn't need it to do that movie. She's still now she learned that she's Palpatine. What right did she have to call herself Rey Skywalker? Because she was barely trained by Luke. She was barely trained by Leia. No, you didn't earn it. You didn't even earn to be, you know, become adoptive daughter of them. Not even in paperwork. But this I hate it when you kind of shows a message that contradicts with each other and ends with a contradiction where you just said you must never be afraid who you are. You must confront even the bad bloodline that you have. And so technically that's the biggest moral that this movie should have is that it's not about the bloodline, it's who you are. You can carry, for example, the name of Hitler, but prove that you're not exactly Adolf Hitler. You can be called Alana Hitler and be the nicest person in the world. No movie. She's Rey Palpatine, not Rey Skywalker. You didn't earn it. Don't bring me the bullshit of don't be afraid of who you are when you're not gonna even solidify what you are. So apparently you must not be happy of who you are. There is a cartoon character that I'm not gonna even dare to mention that they made this kind of bullshit, and this is why I decided to boycott that cartoon. That I'm not gonna even mention it. Because even if I mention it, I'm gonna go be stabbed by pitchforks. It was that moment that it lets me pondering, and even I talked to the other guy, and it was like, dude, Rey Skywalker, that contradicts everything. That is the thing, and the more I begin to think about it, that makes it worse. Whew. Okay. I could say that Uber Spoilers is out. This is one of those movies in which I don't love it, not even hate it. The only thing I hate is the ending that they have. I did heard that they really kind of struggle in production to how to end up this, but I didn't think that it was like that. And it is sad for me to see that this movie technically lost its steam ever since the contradictory The Last Jedi. And there's a lot of mixed bags on, watching, the reviewers of others. But I'm not going, by what the reviewers saying. I'm just talking about my own opinion. Because my opinion is mine. Whether you like it or not, I'm okay with that. I could probably say that this is technically the least amusing Star Wars film I have ever got, and funny enough is that I'm apologetic to Solo, but I can imagine, Uber fans going crazy and going, like Kylo Ren, from when he in the Force Awakens, he grabbed the lightsaber and he just beats the controls with his lightsaber. At least that was kind of amusing. I wish they had something like that in this movie. At least even in the Last Jedi, as bullshit the woke messages it has. At least they gave us something to talk about it. Even Black Christmas, as horrible as it is, at least it gave me something to talk about it. At least at least I can see the beauty of a horrible movie compared to a boring movie that like The Rise of Skywalker. So, yep, Rise of Skywalker it didn't rise expectations. It's mediocre at best. Do I recommend it? Pick your poison. At least check it out, and if you like it, it's fine. It's fine. I don't hate it. I don't love it either. I just kind of talk about it and deconstruct it. Like any person who likes movies, and then when he sees something, he has to at least say it, because saying it is better than nothing, or giving insincere publicity stunt. I'm just talking with my heart. I'm not talking, because I want to, upset the fans or something like that, which it's not my intention. I don't intend, to upset the fandom. I don't intend also to kiss the fandom's feet. I don't even intend, kiss the producers, but sometimes a good creation, you have to, you give them a little bit of a slap on their wrist and saying, no, that there's something wrong with that. Not everything should be perfect. So, well, that's technically the end of the Skywalker saga. What else is gonna have with Star Wars? Well, basically in video games, I heard the game Star Wars Jedi Order or something like that. That EA game that came out recently, they say that it's pretty good. So, maybe there's hope on Star Wars. There's still the Mandalorian too. There's still hope with Star Wars. But you know what? No matter what, even in mediocrity, even in bad movies, good movies, there's only one thing I have to say. That no matter what it is, we all have the Force. So, with that said, may the Force be with you guys.
Son of a...